What's up guys, Rogue9 here, and today I want to talk about a fundamental issue in Rainbow Six Siege. It is an issue that I'm sure many of you have also experienced at some point or another, and in fact, just over 2 months ago, Ubisoft publicly acknowledged that they also see it as a huge problem by initiating the
Audio Bug Hunt Initiative.
This initiative is basically an invitation to the community to act as unpaid testers, and the 2 opinion polls I put out showed very clearly that most of the R6 player base was skeptical of the program as well. As you can see, most respondents by far answered that they were not participating at all, and only a tiny percentage actually managed to find ways in which to replicate any of the audio bugs. So let's talk audio. And we shall start off by rewinding time all the way back to the beginning of Year 5 Season 4, Operation Neon Dawn. Basically, 6 months ago. I was young, carefree and optimistic back then, and I had just made the resolution to myself to really get stuck into Rainbow Six Siege again. Not just analysing changes or behind-the-scenes mechanics, but really getting back into playing the game again, both on and off-stream. And then I had 2 off-stream playing sessions back-to-back on 2 consecutive days, where it felt like 8 or even 9 out of 10 deaths were due to me not being able to hear opponents that I felt I should have definitely heard. Let me show a few example clips that I captured during those 2 sessions. Clip number 1 is me crouch walking up to the objective from restaurant on skyscraper, and it's not so much about missing sound, but more weird and confusing sound. Let's take a listen. So what I heard there was a sort of shuffling of fabric sound. And to me, that suggests a slow-moving or maybe even proning opponent. I'm crouch walking up to him, so I assume that he cannot hear me and will not know exactly where I am or when I'm approaching. And then suddenly he comes flying out of the doorway at a default speed sidestep, and I don't actually hear any footsteps until he's already appearing through the doorway. He caught me completely by surprise, and I was really lucky to win that gunfight. If he had used a jiggle peek or if he had pre-fired, I would have lost that fight for sure. But he decided to wide swing, and luckily for me, he was only on 1-shot health. I went into a custom match and tried to recreate this scenario for myself, and as you will be able to hear once I shut up for 2 seconds, the footsteps of the enemy player should have been audible long before he came into view. Next up, I am upstairs on defense and I can hear the enemy moving around the corner, but the volume of the sound suggested to me that the player was still on the stairs somewhere. Until he came flying around the corner. And here a comparison of what that should have sounded like. You will be able to hear the enemy player from all the way downstairs, gradually getting louder until he comes into view. Same staircase, same match, and here I know that there are 2 players on the balcony outside, but they sound as if they're underwater. And for once, it didn't really matter. Ash is just doing Ash things and runs in without any kind of info. Score 1-0 for me, but the story doesn't end there, because as I'm reloading, I can hear the second player moving, and judging by the sound, I assume that he's around about at the doorway now. All I need to do is pop up and use Pika's advantage to claim my second kill here, right? Yeah, wrong, dickhead. Get absolutely bamboozled because he's already moved up so that he's only a few feet away. He's expecting a peek, I'm not expecting him to be that close, and all he has to do is shoot me. And once again, here the duplicate scenario, but this time the sound decides to work. Father's Day is only just over 2 weeks away, and I feel that it is my duty to remind you that the Ridge wallet makes a great gift, plus they're also sponsoring this video, which helps me buy food, and I love food, so many thanks to them. Do you fancy something lightweight, durable, and drop-dead gorgeous? Then you should check out the burnt titanium version of the wallet by going to ridge.com/rogue9. They currently have a 15% discount code running with the discount code DAD15, and if you're watching this video in the future, you can still use the code ROGUE9 for a 10% discount. Now we're on bank and it's a 2v1. My teammate goes down, so I know where the attack is going to be coming from, and I can even hear him. But once again, the sound I'm receiving suggests to me that he is still out in the hallway, and I make the choice to move up to the deployable shield. If he goes for a plant on the other side, I have a chance of hearing it and intervening. If he decides to push, I can use the shield to my advantage.
One friendly operator remaining.
Fucking Shadow Panda.
But of course, my ears were totally trolling me, and he had already pushed up behind the shield with virtually no sound on my end, and only the unfortunate placement of the pre-fire is what saves me. Final clip is a relatively straightforward one. The round has only just started and I can hear a shield moving up from over towards Blue Hallway. I assume that the enemy is still near the stairs and decide to move up to the corner so that I can pin the player down from long range. But surprise, motherfucker. He's already sprinted all the way up to me, and in that split second I completely forget that meleeing shields is now a very viable defense, and I go down to an actual Blitz Rush. Custom game sound for comparison, and I'm gonna start this clip with Blitz all the way up on the ground floor before he gets to the stairs. And you know, these were only a few clips I decided to save from back then. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it genuinely felt as if 8 out of 10 deaths were because the sound was completely bamboozling me. In all of my recreations of the sound, I tried out different movement speeds, and sure, sometimes moving really slowly was quite stealthy, as it is meant to be, but reviewing the clips, it makes it quite clear that the enemies at the time just weren't slow walking or slow crouch walking, or they would never have been able to make it as close to me as they did. At the end of those 2 days playing Rainbow Six Siege at the beginning of Neon Dawn, all of my motivation to really get stuck back into playing Siege again had completely evaporated, and apart from running tests, I've barely touched the game since then. How can we take a game seriously, a game that builds itself as a competitive esport of all things, when one of the most fundamental features, being able to consistently hear your opponents, just doesn't work and seems to get worse almost from season to season? New operators, completely revamped maps, bug fixes, new gadgets, and fundamental reworks of core mechanics are great and all, but as long as I still have that doubt in the back of my head that my playing experience could be completely undermined by broken sound at any point, I really struggle to gather up the motivation to want to grind the game again. And it's the inconsistency of the sound that is the real killer here. Being able to move quietly is not necessarily a bad thing. Look at Valorant, for example, where moving slowly makes almost no noise. It's a deliberate feature of the game, and that is perfectly fine as long as it is consistent and players know about it. With Rainbow Six, it's not consistent because oftentimes it works and then suddenly you'll have a round where an enemy can silent repel or silent drop or is just sprinting 3 meters away just around a corner and makes hardly any sound. When it comes to the bug hunt initiative that Ubisoft has launched, I'm kind of split. On the one hand, it's great that we finally have public acknowledgement that Ubisoft are aware of the sound issues in Rainbow Six Siege, and it's not just in all of our heads. At the same time though, it's kind of concerning that they were not able to identify for themselves what is causing the issue, and that they had to resort to trying to rope the player base into a gigantic testing program. We've not heard anything back since the program started, and all we can hope for is that sound will, at some point this year, become more reliable again. What has your experience with sound in Rainbow Six Siege been for the past few seasons? Are you still enjoying the game like you used to? And if not, what is the main problem for you? Let me know in the comment section below, and while you're there, feel free to leave a like or a dislike depending on your star sign.
Bring the madness.